flames were coming out of this house here on Winston Road, which is why firefighters are hosing water down directly above it. Cox says human trafficking follows the interstate and highway systems, and Charlottesville makes for a great stopping point on their way to major cities, which is why the Charlottesville-Albemarle Human Trafficking Task Force formed. There's about a dozen individual public seats right here in front of City Hall, but if you're not in this area, the next available cluster of public seats aren't for another almost 3 blocks just to find these 3 chairs. Splashing, floating, and paddling down the James River is a great way for people to cool off. Clinton also brought up changes that still need to happen today to bring the country together, like more equality between men and women. My car has been out here all day picking up the snow, and if you measure it out, it looks like, right way, it looks like we got about ½ an inch of snow. Here at Montpelier, these students have been digging into layers of history of the enslaved people, discovering that their past is not out of reach. Dan and Courtney, just like many other localities, residents of Nelson County want their Board of Supervisors to make them a Second Amendment sanctuary. This rally was their way of making themselves heard.
We're not here just to support firearms, okay? I want everybody to know we're here to support the Constitution.
The Nelson County Board of Supervisors will discuss declaring the county a Second Amendment sanctuary at 2 p.m. on Tuesday. So Don Heers organized this rally to be the night before.
We didn't feel that the working person that had to work all day would be able to be at a 2 o'clock meeting. So when they wouldn't move it to 7, we decided to hold a rally the night before just so we could voice our opinion and they would see how serious we were.
Heers spread the word about the rally through a Facebook group he made called Make Nelson County VA a Second Amendment Sanctuary. Over 680 people have joined the group. Heers says there is no need to restrict gun rights any more than the laws that are already in place.
It's a very slippery slope. There are gun laws on the books, and our biggest complaint is they're not being enforced. You know, if they would enforce the ones that were there, we would probably see a lot less problems.
Supervisor Jesse Rutherford is who brought the discussion of becoming a sanctuary up to the rest of the board.
The classification on assault firearms and turning everyone who is a lawful purchase and law-abiding citizen to be a felon, you know, the day after that bill is passed is a dangerous thought to have here in Nelson. And it hits home with a lot of us. And as you can see, you know, we got hundreds of people here today, and they feel the same way.
He says this allows people to do what they won't be able to do in front of the board.
The most important things we could do as a local government is allow people a place to feel and gather and get to hear on this issue.
The Board of Supervisors meeting will be held, as you heard, at the Nelson County Courthouse tomorrow at 2 p.m. Reporting live in the studio, Brianna Hamblin, CBS 19 News.
I've got little kids, an 8-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old, and it's actually a little bit of a challenge to come down here with them in terms of what are they going to do. There's not a lot of places to stop and rest.
Matthew Gillikin says it's hard to enjoy the downtown mall without money. To sit in most of the hundreds of chairs, you have to buy a drink or stop to get a meal. One day, Gillikin decided to count how many seats are public and how many are not.
By my count, there's about 25 public seats on the downtown mall, and there's about 1,200 private seats.
Gillikin says the disparity excludes many people from enjoying the mall in a space that's supposed to be considered a public park.
To just take a break, to have a minute to yourself, to do even things like nurse a baby, you've got to pay to be able to do that. And I don't think that necessarily reflects who we are as a city and who we want to be as a city.
There's about a dozen individual public seats right here in front of City Hall. But if you're not in this area, the next available cluster of public seats aren't for another almost 3 blocks just to find these 3 chairs. That may seem fine to many, but if you have a disability, it could make the mall daunting. Director of Communications Brian Wheeler says there are 37 of these chairs around the mall, and 16 more are in storage to one day be placed.
We have to think about fire lanes. We have to think about events that take place.
People also say the design of the chairs seem to have been made to avoid the homeless laying down on them. Wheeler says in 2019, backless benches were replaced with the original mall chairs when it was created in the 1970s.
So any redesign would require the Board of Architectural initial review to get involved. And at this point, all we've done is restore equipment basically that we already had.
Gillikin says the bottom line is the mall simply needs more public chairs in order to be for everyone. Reporting in Charlottesville, Brianna Hamblin, CBS 19 News.